Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to yet another episode of Strategic Frontlines, the Clause official YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Roshan Khanijo, and today let me welcome three eminent guests which we have together. First is Major General Rajiv Narayanan, AVSM VSM retired. He is a China expert and is the author of much acclaimed book, The Dragon's Bite, Strategic Continuum, and PLS Evolving Fire and Teeth. We also have Lieutenant General P.R. Shankar, PVSM, AVSM, VSM retired, a strategist thinker, and the creator of popular podcast Gunner's Shot. I also welcome Dr. Devinder Kumar. He is the Associate Fellow at Center of Excellence for Himalayan Studies, Shiv Nada University. He is also a China expert and focuses on Tibet and Yunnan. I welcome all of you. So as we all know that recently China had released a new white paper on China's national security in the new year. So we would like to discuss a little bit about it, and I'd like to flag certain issues. Firstly, I would like to ask you, what is the objective of this paper? Because till now, we have been seeing that the China has been releasing the defense white papers. So why the shift to this China's national security paper? Secondly, if we read a little bit about it, we find that the guiding ideology of the national security is political security. And it talks about the core of political security is regime security and system security. So all these things have been mentioned clearly and many times throughout the paper. So I just want to ask all three of you, is the optic for domestic audience, considering there has been so many purges and things like that, or for external players? And we also see that the Central National Security Commission, which has been created under the CPC, it's a very centralized, authoritative national security leadership system kind of a thing. So what would you say about all these things, and also the holistic security approach, what he talks about in your initial remarks? So we'll start with General Ryan and General Shankar and then Devinder Kumar.
Thank you for having me on board. Always a pleasure. Yes, you're very right. It is not just for internal consumption. His biggest worry is that now there can be foreign interference which can come in. And that there are so many fissures within his society. Player from outside can start playing. So that is the biggest worry, and hence you find the central theme that you rightly pointed out is actually the survival of the Communist Party's hold on China. That is the underlying theme. That is point number one. Now, his biggest worry is because in every matrix that you look at, China is sliding down, and they have no plans. Whatever they have done is just not working. See, the economy is collapsing, and they are doing more of the same. When you look at the two sessions that took place, more of the same, that I will create more infrastructure. Creating more infrastructure is what has caused their downfall for the economy, because there was no returns on the investment. The demography is collapsing very badly. More and more is coming out that the number of deaths that he had during the Wuhan COVID virus has been hidden, and millions have died. And as it is, they have said that one child policy, they have been cooking up their figures. So that the biggest problem is that the working age population today is almost at par with the old people. Now that's a big concern. Exports are drying up. There's no internal consumption. The equipment of his had been in question, and post Op Sindoor, it has really opened up that is it. But when they had compiled this paper at that time, it may not have been evident. Now, when you look at National Security Council or the Commission, it was first thought of by Chiang Zemin. in his first tenure, but he dropped the idea because he felt that there would be too much power centralized under one person if he is going to look at it. When it was made by Hu Jintao, first time it was made by Xi Jinping in his first term. First and second term, it was quite a large number of people who were there, not just from the CMC, the Politburo Standing Committee, and you also had from the Politburo and some from the State Council also were there. Large number. It is from his third term. It has become a super Politburo Standing Committee. Just four chaps. He is there, Li Qiang is there, Zhao Leji is there, and Kai Chi. That's it. Nobody else. And the fears what Jiang Zemin had of too much centralization of power, that is what happened here in his third term, and I think that is what spelt his doom. Hence the worry, hence this, and you don't find any tasking or anything direct for the PLA here. It is basically telling that follow the advice of the National Security Commission, political security, security of the Communist Party, and the continued hold of the Communist Party on China, and his own continuity of the regime, his continuity. So I'll stop it here and leave it to the others.
General Shankar, would you like to add something to it? He also talks about holistic approach to security and big security, and there are a lot of jargons in it. So what do you make of it?
So you're muted.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
First class. See, the whole story of this is you have to view it in a slightly different manner. I view it in a different manner. Let me say that it's going to be a corollary to what General Rajiv has said. Okay. You have to see, first and foremost, till now, China has been producing white papers on defense.
Yes.
This is the first time they have produced a white paper on security. Now, before I came on this, I went through the State Council information website, and I went through 10 years. There's no white paper on security. That's the first thing. When you say white paper on security, it is overarching and it covers PLA. The party must control the gun, like what General Narayanan said. Now, the last white paper PLA was in 2019. Uske baad band kar diya, abhi aaya. And we know there's a rift between the PLA and Xi Jinping. So this covers that up. That's the first thing. But this is not the end of the story. This is the, China's national security in the new era. New era is Xi Jinping's era. So it is his regime continuity which is coming. All these things. The third thing which I've been thinking, and is this. This is what I thought. You have to look at it from the 18th Party Congress, the 19th Party Congress, and the 20th Party Congress, and the 21st Party Congress, which is to happen in 2027. 18th Party Congress was the Congress, Hu Jintao's Congress, where it was all about opening up, reform, modernization, and things like that. You read I'm not going into the verbiage now because you read it, you understand. The 19th Party Congress was the defining party Congress which put Xi Jinping's stamp on China. He said, to hell with reform, opening up and all, let's get back to hardcore communism. Right? And what is the hardcore communism all about? It was about, you give me your freedoms and I'll give you prosperity. And then common prosperity became the big theme in the 19th Party Congress. It continued. Come 20 Party Congress, and this was in October 22. You found that Chinese economy had started going down by then. And General Rajiv Narayanan and I have been discussing this from long. We spoke of decline of China at that point of time. Right? You saw a flip in the 20 Party Congress. What is the flip in the 20 Party Congress? It was no more that I'll give you, prosperity in return for your freedoms. It is you give me your freedom and I'll give you security. That was the flip which took place in 20-party Congress. And security became the central theme of the whole thing. Security of what? Security of the communist rule over China. That is the thing. Now, from then, October 22 to now, all metrics in China, all metrics as this thing are gone down. And you've gone into regime instability at this point of time. He thought he had finished off all factions. All these factions are coming up. One. Number two, he spoke of global security, all that, common destiny and all the nonsense. But in his own periphery, no one is listening to him. His security initiative is failing. Everything is failing. But he still has this thing that he is the biggest person. Now, why has this come out? Two reasons. One, this is the in-between between the 21 party Congress, which is to be held in 27. And now, he has to have a link because the metrics of China are going down. Right. The second thing is that he sees an opportunity with trade war and Trump. He sees the American system, the Western system, is not likely to produce results for anyone. So he says, okay, let me do this. If I can securitize the whole story, I revive my economy through security, providing security. Whether this will, the way I look at it, it will not function. But that's the way China functions, right? And that's the way he's selling, because he's talking of peace, destiny, and all that nonsense. And he's himself got into a fight. He goes and supports Pakistan. He's now, in a problem with Philippines. He's now in a problem with Taiwan. He's in a problem with Japan also. And he's also in problem with, of all things, with North Korea, which is unseen, which is subterranean. He's got tensions with them. That's why North Korea has flipped to Russia. And plus, the West is not accepting him, and he's into a debilitating, trade war. All this is security. Now he's linked in this paper, development and security. They are coterminous. So there is a lot of issues in this.
Yes.
And I feel this is a survival paper for him to survive.
Survive.
Let's see how it goes. I'll stop here at this point of time.
Yes. Dr. Devinder, would you like to add something to it? Because my next question was what he stated, that there is a kind of what you call it, developmental thing which has come up. And they actually, what they say, I'll describe about it later on. First, I want you to ask if you want to add anything to this about the holistic security or the political security, what we are talking about. You can add.
Thank you for having me. I think first of all we need to understand what is a national security paper in Chinese context. China issues national white papers on range of issues that is central to its concerns, right? Whether it is Hong Kong, Tibet, human rights, Xinjiang. So this is, we should not think that it is a replacement of white paper on defense. It might be, I read it as a prelude to what they will be coming out with 5-year plans for national security or something like that. As General Shankar mentioned, referred to it briefly about, touched upon the issue about 27th Party Congress. So we should read this paper in that context. In the sense that they might be planning to develop a 5-year plan, which will be coterminous with 15th 5-year plan for social and economic development. Second, I think there are three major reasons why we should read this paper. First of all, one is that we have seen China exuding confidence in the context of Trump's tariffs on Chinese export. This is the paper's tone and emphasis is in contrast to that confidence. Basically the paper emphasizes or gives a sense of fragility or insecurity about what is happening, right? Whether it is economic uncertainties leading to political and social instability, or US's attempt to destabilize the regime. And here we see many instances throughout the text. One is, of course, is the emphasis on the neighborhood, coordinating security with neighborhood, and you see that there are a lot of references to how China needs to coordinate security with neighboring countries. And there another reference to is the ideological security, ethnic separatism, separatist cliques like Dalai Lama sitting in India and somewhere else. So that's one. Second thing is that it is basically a paper which sets the tones for discourse on national security within China, because this paper will be read throughout the party hierarchy. So basically, cadres at every level, they'll be sensitized as to what are the broad directions in which they should be working. Another aspect is that it is, of course, aimed at outside players. Outside China, and here we see a lot of references to China GSI and what China is doing in terms of global governance and the whole idea of overall national security concept. And third, I think, is that it actually elevates the national security concept within general national security discourse within China. And here we also see the elevation of what the paper refers to as new frontier issues, which is the innovation and application of science and technology and its impact on national security and internal security. And here we should be thinking about why they have done it. One is that once they have paper
that we will just come back to it, Devendra Kumar. First, I'll just want to add to what General talked about before about economics and development. We find that in this paper, development has been discussed to quite some thing, and they talk about long-term development in terms of high quality development and high level security. So you need to understand what is this high level security they are talking about. Is it just a jargon, or there is some hidden meaning to it? Along with it, we find that they talk about the local government also. They say that you need to strengthen the grassroots social governance, and they want to go back to their Franco experience, which was there during Mao's time. They talk about new model for real estate development. So does it mean that they are trying to acknowledge that these are the sectors which need attention, or if it is neglected that some problems might come up? At the same time, they also talk about the national security laws and regulations, especially the national security legal system, what they want to strengthen. And here, what they are trying to do is, I think, organically try to bring in public security governance, social governance, foreign-related national security mechanism, all in terms of a larger umbrella, which is the national security law, so that everything is centralized. So I want to know more about this kind of a thing, especially what is this high quality development and high level security is all about. So I'll start with General Shankar, then General Narayanan, and then Devendra.
You see, thanks a lot. You pointed out the crux of the whole story is his lack of development or development. The very issues you mentioned, local governments are failing. Real estate has failed. I mean, these are all failures. Failures of all these in economic terms, or his military is also failing. All these threaten security. It threatens regime security. So all these have a direct connect. So what all he's telling people to do is, look, be patient. This high quality development is failing. High quality development was what? EVs, solar panels, space, robotics, everything. Today, if you see, this complete EV industry is crashing. Barring two autos, I think BYD and one more, the rest are all in loss. Solar panels are in loss today. I mean, these are the facts. Now the robotics are going into loss because there's too much competition. There's a term called Nijan or involution. As a result of which, in any sector, in every sector, there's no revival of property. Nothing. All they're doing is issuing bonds out. Who are buying these bonds? The people. The people who buy the bonds are buying from their savings. As a result, the state is becoming rich and the average Chinese is becoming poorer. When this gap between the average Chinese and the state is becoming greater, the security automatically comes into play. And that is the link or the view black hole of this whole security business and the link between development and security. So this is more of a paper which is, the way I look at it, it is quite a desperate step taken by Xi Jinping. I'll leave it at that. I think others can dilate on this. He's laughing already. Yeah. You're muted, madam.
Jill,
You're
now they're
muted.
talking a lot about local government also, the debt scenario and all those kind of a thing. So what are your views?
Yes, see, till now they always had all these bonds that they were talking of. Only thing, the name had changed. Local government financial vehicles, they called it. Now they're calling it
Yeah,
bonds.
please.
Just give it a new dress doesn't change anything. The local government financial vehicles have collapsed. The banks are collapsing because of the NPAs. How are you going to sustain? Yes, they used to have 5-year plans. He's worried here. He's got to issue his next 15th 5-year plan next year. Okay. 2021 was when they, I think if I remember correctly, yes, 2021 was the 14th 5-year plan. But after that, in any of his sessions in March, which is supposed to, where the premier is supposed to come and bring out what all have been achieved, zero has been mentioned, especially this year's 2 sessions. Nothing has been mentioned of any economic progress. So what 5-year plan are you going to build on when the previous 5-year plan itself has collapsed? And that is why they are pushing more for development, and hinting at the biggest thing they have mentioned, that security and development go hand in hand. Cover up for what they did in this budget of increasing for budgetary allocation for both PLA, which is external budget, and internal budget, and not for anything else. More than 7% is the stated increase. Though a lot of people who have analyzed the budget say hidden things may be much more. So now here he is trying to come out with a statement that security and development go hand in hand. Now, what do you do when development has collapsed and you're only increasing security? This is a cover-up, papering over of that. That don't question me for what I'm doing for security. Unless I have security, I won't have development. He hides the fact is security for whom? In the words that you correctly pointed out, political security, regime security. He's more worried about his security than the development of the people. Hence, he's going back towards Mao. So the best thing to notice is what era of Mao are you going back to? Great leap forward or the Cultural Revolution? The more I read about him, the more it is the implementation of the Cultural Revolution. Problem which he's going to face. Mao initially had his Red Brigade. When it didn't work in 69, he brought in the PLA to support him in this. Today the PLA is not with him. And there is no Red Brigade because the populace is not with him. In 2022, when he was enforcing his election, people were out against him. Today, people are out on the streets against Communist Party, saying enough of Communist Party, we want democracy. It is in this environment he's brought this of regime security and Communist Party security because he sees this threat. And historically in China, if you get somebody whom the people support, then there is going to be a big tussle. And with a split in PLA and now a likely split in PAP, you never know which way this will go. And hence this fear of security. This entire theme is on their own security and continued rule of the CPC. Hinting there, I think, if you read between the lines, that if we fight within ourselves, there is likelihood of a civil war. And that is, I think, is the underlying fear in the entire thing. And that's why he keeps talking of, and throw in the neighborhood security. Why? Nobody is listening to him. That was the reason why they have gone and done a deal with Philippines and say, sorry, we both will pull out from the Scarborough Shoals. Nobody is listening to him today. He went, they had their talks with the ASEAN. After that, what happened? They said, okay, 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 but they've shifted the complete thing to the US and the West. That is the fear for the neighborhood. Why neighborhood? You know about it. My favorite thing, the game of Go.
Yeah.
You have to protect your borders and flanks. Now he's worried about his northern flank. North Korea has gone from him. He's worried about his southern flank. He can't contend me. He had to blink and push back. Now his biggest worry is his eastern seaboard. And that is where he is having a problem, hence neighborhood. If the neighborhood is not with him, then his game of Go is over. Because all flanks are threatened.
Yeah, he's brought this law in, just to add one very important thing. He's brought this law in, national security law, coterminous, along with this. Why? Just watch out. There are going to be a lot of purges. Okay.
I would just add purges and counter purges.
Counter purges, both will be
Because
there. Yeah.
knives are drawn now. There is a struggle, as I had mentioned in one of my talks, struggle for the alpha space, the alpha dragon space.
Alpha dragon space, yeah.
The alpha dragon is the boss of all the dragons. They call themselves the dragon country. And when one person gets old, then there is a struggle for the alpha dragon and all the other contenders come up. At the present moment in CPC, there is a struggle for the alpha dragon space because they feel Xi Jinping's health is weak and he's weakening.
Yeah, muted.
Dr. Devendra Kumar, would you like to add anything on the developmental issue also?
To
And
just
also,
add
I would like to add a subsequent question to you. We're talking about the technology part. So the technology has been spoken as a double-edged sword. And initially, they used to say that we want to develop so many kinds of different technologies. But this time, what they are talking about is the legal system. They need to develop legal system. So is it to monitor various technologies? And the technologies, what they have mentioned is artificial intelligence, quantum, biotech, and autonomous driving, where they have a substantial control over it. So what, in your view, you think, is it in order to control the technology, or they genuinely mean that they want to have a legal system? Because if you see, they have also created a law regarding foreign related rule of law in order to oversee the foreign investment security review system, so that they're going to see a lot of things in that. So you can give your views on both the issues.
Okay. So first of all, on the coordination between development and security, to put it in simple language, it is about how to prevent people's disaffection from leading to mobilization against the regime. So we have seen a range of a series of examples, and some of which have been reported in internet media, such as stabbings or car ramming into crowd. And these are all signs of disaffection, the sluggish economic recovery, and hence, so the coordination between development and security means that either you prevent it and from leading to this, or if you cannot prevent by making sure that economy sails through the crisis, then control it. And that is where the state capacity comes in. And I think that is where the second point also comes in, that states capacity to deal with new challenges from emerging from new frontier areas is still weak. And that is where they are focusing, that we have to make sure that state has capacity at grassroots level in terms of technological surveillance, control, how to control population, etc. And that is where you see the references to Feng Xiao experience. Feng Xiao experience is a good example of how the party wants to bring in all elements of control at local level into one overall concept, whether it is grid system, technology, or the role of local bureaucrats at grassroots level, such as urban management, uh, uh, system, etc., etc. Yeah.
Okay, so my last set of question quickly is, a lot has been spoken about the global security initiative, and in this paper also there is a full para about it. So, but this global security initiative has inherent problems with it. For example, I can point two issues when it talks about, um, you have to not see as your country first, but you need to see others also, because if you see your own country first, then there'll be a total loss. Secondly, it says that no country can put its own security above the security of other countries. Now, there is an inherent problem, because every country wants to see its national interest first. No, China is also doing the same thing. If that is the case, then China should not consider Taiwan as its core area. It should not talk about all the islands in South China Sea. They should sacrifice it for the greater good. So we find a kind of a dichotomy in it. So, what are your views about it? And also, there was a para on Taiwan also, and it stated that generally the narrative has been very aggressive exercises and verbal duels, but in this para it mentions that they want to support the patriotic unification forces on the island, and they want to go to the emotional link of the Taiwanese. So is it a carrot and stick kind of approach what they are trying to do? So I'll start with Jill Ryan first, and then the
Okay.
others.
You're very true. See, there have been no takers for the GSI for the very fact that China for itself follows the concept is what is mine, let us discuss what is yours. And that's where the whole problem starts. If he's so that is where the problem starts. And his biggest concern today, like I told him, is eastern flank, because the northern is gone, the southern is gone. Asia Pacific today has collapsed economically. Asia Pacific today economically is irrelevant. He's still living in the past. He hesitates to call Indo-Pacific region because then he has to accept that India is rising and India has come into the picture. Now, if he cannot do that, I'm sorry, he is not going to, because to be able to resolve a problem, you have to accept that there is a problem. That they cannot accept. That is the biggest problem I see in this issue that they have. As far as Taiwan is concerned, I will give you what I could dredge and find out about the latest exercise, which they had supposed to have been done for 7 days in April, which they said they're going to blockade China. Now, when he announced that, by then what had happened is the Eastern Theater commander had been purged. Okay. And Hervé Dong had also been purged. Hervé Dong looked after the ops part. Chang Yuzhia looks after the force development and technology and everything. Hervé Dong looked after the ops part. Eastern Theater Command. For 1 week, they couldn't make a plan. Are you telling me there's nobody else qualified in Eastern Theater Command? Even the naval chap couldn't make the plan? They're all scared. I make something which somebody up there doesn't like me, I'll get purged. This is what happens when you start purging people. Nobody takes the initiative. Under guard, for 3 days, they had to bring both Hervé Dong and the Eastern Theater commander to the Eastern Theater command headquarters, and they made a plan over 2 days and they went back. How was the plan executed? 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Went in the morning, came back at night. Is that how you fight battles? Excuse me. After 2 days, you called off the exercise because you realized it's worthless. You're going in the morning and coming back at night. The PLA itself is not ready to fight. So now you tell, no, we will try and bring it through, automatically through the people. That was Deng Xiaoping's plan, no? Who trashed it? Xi Jinping. Now when you have done everything, Deng Xiaoping's plan was the same thing for Hong Kong and Taiwan. 1 country, 2 systems. First thing, you trashed Hong Kong's 1 country, 2 systems. So that's gone down the drain. Now try selling it to Taiwanese people. that it will be one country, two system. Who's the buyer? There are no buyers. The reverse is taking place. They had sent people from here to Taiwan, mainland to Taiwan, to see the elections. The youth there have spoken to them. You want democracy and elections? We will come there and conduct elections for you. Now you are getting worried. PLA is not with you. You can't fight. So go back to the old. Oh, कबड़ से निकालो पुराना फाइल यार खोलो. क्या बोला था पहले? उसी को चेप दो with different words. Doesn't work. That doesn't work. That is the problem.
Yes. Jalin Shankar.
Look, there's another angle to this whole story. Why this chap has come out with the security, doctrine, or whatever you call it, white paper? Because of Trump. You see, Trump is breaking the international order as it exists. Okay, he sees an opportunity. Xi Jinping sees an opportunity in this. That look, he's not going to give you anything, so let me give you something. But the problem is, from in the past 2 years, you see, when you look at it in 2022, when he came out with this in the 20-party Congress and announced the security architecture, he was on the up. And at that point of time, China's economy was supposed to be doing very well, though in COVID. And it was supposed to overtake USA. And PLA was at the peak of its powers, imaginary though, because no one had seen. But over the past 2 years, you see a decline in all matrices. He had, from trade and security point of view, everyone else under his grip. North Korea was his friend. South Korea was benign. Japan didn't talk much. Okay, Philippines with Duterte, whatever that fellow's name is, he was, they'd made a soda. And the rest were all in line. Cambodia and Laos are in his pocket. Today, even they are not in his pocket.
Yes.
He's got a major problem externally. Like, his periphery is weak.
Yes.
And then he's now landed. You see, of course, now it's a postscript. This is not part of that. But now he's landed in a soup with India and Pakistan, Opsindur. Because all his equipment which he's going to use there are failed. So where does he go? So I think his problems are getting compounded. And if you really analyze the failure of PL-15, the failure of HQ-9, the failure of his SH-15, that track gun system, and all his missiles and his EW systems, they've all failed. You add to that the number of nuclear submarines which have gone down. One nuclear submarine went down in his port only, right? One went, otherwise it took 15 people along. Then his DF-17s, General Rajiv Narayanan discussed about it, was fired in the East Coast and landed in Beijing. Yeah, it's not funny. And you see the number of his rockets of his space effort which have gone. One major thing which we have to factor in, which is not common all discussion, is last year they had this PLA Strategic Support Force, SSF. That SSF controlled everything: cyber, aviation, infowar, public AO, everything. Last year, that became too strong for him. And the rumor was that that guy, whoever headed that SSF, had a dossier on Xi Jinping. So he caught him, put him in jail, and broke that whole organization and made the cyber security force, the aerospace security force, and the information security force. And he's downgraded it from arm to some service or something like that. So he's, from a security perspective, he's been on a very unsure wicket for the past 1.5 years. You see the internals which are bad. You see the externals which are bad. And just 2 days back, I saw a report in South China Morning Post where he's not getting conscripts for recruitment. They're a major problem. Just 2 days back, right? And even after giving a lot of incentives, he's not getting. And now he's started penalizing people. So if you might not be able to study, you might not go abroad and all that if you skip conscription or dodge conscription. So there are a lot of issues. So if you see, he's addressing his internal issues with the law, and he's also addressing external issues which Trump he feels has given him an opportunity. But Trump is playing a different game. We'll not talk of it today.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very rightly pointed out, Jan Shankar, because I was planning to ask you about the weapons which were used by Pakistanis and all were Chinese made. And so I'm very happy that you answered that question. So before we go forward, any comments by Dr. Devendra? You would like to add
Uh,
something to it?
Yeah, so as a concept, GSI is very vague, and this thing. Why we only see two institutional expressions or practices which they call uh, global security. One is the security of Chinese assets and workers abroad, and there are a lot of examples of how they are doing it, including the use of private security companies and etc. Then second is the export of surveillance technology and other things, right? So these are only two manifestations of global security cooperation. There are references to everything from global governance, health, public health security, climate change, etc. But these are all part of being clubbed into this concept. uh, I think General Jaishankar's reference to the centrality of US is very important here, and throughout the paper you see that whether it is the concerns in neighborhood and its spillover impact on internal security in peripheries within China, whether it is ideological or cultural security, there are references to color revolutions, ethnic separatism, and other things. So, and whether it is references to US, some they don't. The paper does not name US, but they say some country is doing so and so, but they're obviously referring to US. So, in terms of the priority of issues, they have the paper has reiterated the previous position. For example, it's saying about what it's saying about Russia is what they have already been talking about. It has defined EU as a partner, right? Again, something that China has been trying to navigate between the EU and US. And surprisingly, there is no reference to India as such, except the fact that there's reference to how they have resolved territorial disputes with 12 out of 14 countries, and that there are talks going on with Bhutan and India. uh, so yeah.
We'll
Yeah. Please, madam, please go ahead.
You're muted.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
we'll just take few questions before we end, and there is one this China stopped the supply of near earth EVs and electronic components to India. How will India answer to it?
Not electronic components. What I know about is they are not giving you as many that electromagnets. Instead
Yeah.
of buying electromagnets and making your motor here, they are pushing that you buy the electric motor from us. That is where it stands. Electronic components and all, you're not that dependent on them for your. This is for your EVs, essentially EVs and heavy hybrid vehicles.
Okay.
That is the.
Okay. And I think we are short on time. So, any last points from any of you before we end the session? We'll start with General Narayan.
Yeah, you see, his biggest worry is that he has an internal security issue. There are deep fissures, societal fissures, fissures in PLA, fissures in the Communist Party. His northern flank is not secure, his southern flank is not secure, and he's having problems in the eastern seaboard side. And this is where, like what Dr. Devender had mentioned, his biggest fear is the US will be able to reach out and create fissures and work with that fissures to create problems for the continuation of Communist Party. There was one comment which had come about the people, somebody who's from UCLA, that youngsters.
Yes, Mr. Ashok, I think he said.
It
Yes.
has already started. By the way, it has already started.
Yes.
The people which they're trying to curb in the news, they remove it from their Weibo and WeChat also. There are strikes from
Yes.
going on by these youngsters across cities, where they are saying enough of Communist Party, we want democracy.
Yes.
That is the biggest fear, and I see that is the reason why he has come out with this white paper on security and wanting to ensure the centrality of the Communist Party of China's hold on China and his hold on the Communist Party of China.
Jalnayan, what you are saying, the question is there.
I think it is not going to be easy for him. He has reached out to EU, but if he reads the EU's and all individual countries' Indo-Pacific doctrine, China is their main challenge.
Yes.
China, everybody has mentioned China is the challenge.
Yes.
So it's not going to be easy. It would be interesting to see how things pan off in the coming years.
Yeah, there's one more question for General Narayanan, which is by a person called Right Geek Project. I'd like to request you to, it's a start question. I can't put it on. It's
Yeah.
It says
Is US removing its
I read that.
from the EU to go to the war with China?
Yes. Initially, they started the pivot to Asia, everything, rebalancing Asia, nothing was done.
Yeah.
This is the first time actually he's moving out troops from EU and sending them to the Indo-Pacific. And that's how he signed this agreement for 8 more bases in the Philippines, re-strengthened Okinawa. So this is the rebalancing coming to China, towards China, because if everyone says that China is my challenge, then how are you not rebalancing? That means Russia is not your primary threat. China is your primary threat. Russia, you may look at it as a secondary threat. So where do you rebalance? So it's very true. It is part of the Crown Council playbook. They may ask him for something different because he now gone on a different tangent for his Nobel Peace Prize. So that's a different issue, a different topic. But this is part of the Crown Council playbook to bring troops here to cater for China. Trump is a different kettle of fish altogether. He's a different person, on a track of his own. So we will discuss Trump separately.
General Shankar, your last comments?
Yeah, there's one question by Vijay Tuteja. He says, what's China's plan in Bangladesh and how India plans to counter it?
Yes.
I'd like to tell everyone that yesterday, General Narayanan and I, we did a thing on, with the alternate media and Gunner Shot. You'll find this in Gunner Shot about Bangladesh. And we discussed in great detail as to what China can do there. With the way things are going in Bangladesh is a multi-layered, issue. There are about 6 layers in Bangladesh, which we yesterday discussed. One of the layers is China. And today, the way I look at it, China doesn't have a great leverage in Bangladesh. Right? You please understand, just today, the news has come out. Waqaruzzaman has said no humanitarian corridor.
Yes.
And all that. So there's a problem with USA there. There's a mega problem coming there. The political survival of that regime is on the hook.
On the cards.
That fellow, he will not allow anyone to come. If he doesn't allow US to come, he will not allow China to come in also.
Yes.
So the dynamic in Bangladesh is changing very fast. Right? So don't worry about it at this point of time. But as far as China is concerned, my last word is this. This is only the initial analysis, first reactions of this paper. Let's be very honest. It took me about 6 readings or 7 readings of the 20-party Congress, 18-party Congress, and the 19-party Congress to understand the whole story. I'll come back to you maybe a couple of months later. उससे पहले इसका कहानी क्या है ये पता भी नहीं चलेगा. That has to correlate with events on ground and then do backward correlation with what that fellow said, and then we will talk about it. don't be in a hurry to conclude whatever we have said today is God's gospel.
I know we were just doing
Yeah, I
what do you
understand.
call it?
But I must tell everyone where we are.
Yes. Any last comments, Dr. Devinder?
Yeah, so I'll go back to my initial remarks that, this paper punctures China's own narrative of confidence in the context of Trump tariffs. It's all about insecurity, fragility, or sense of insecurity about economic problems, and it leading to challenges to the regime and social political stability. And that's the key, I think, message if we have to read the text, especially coming in the context of recent events.
Madam,
Thank you.
I'll take leave because I have to get
No.
on to another webinar, right? Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, all of you, for joining the Clause YouTube channel. We call it Strategic Frontlines.
Yes, sir.
And it was a pleasure to have you all together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having us.